I'm a young guy, or I'm a new guy in the industry, and you get an owner come in or a foreman, and it's like you already know starting out they're not gonna follow any safety protocol. You're meeting with them, and you're just getting the feeling like, what's your next step? As you guys are both project managers, but when you encounter that, and you kind of know like, what would you do immediately, knowing this is going to go not the right way if we let this guy keep going?
So I think that goes back, and we were talking earlier about, like when we first started doing safety, or when I first got to American, we were tracking all our safety violations on SharePoint. And now we use EHS to track that. The cool part about that was you could isolate it by company, and then you could isolate it by person too if you had the person's name or the person's names was put in there, even if it wasn't your job. And we still do that, right? You still do that. So even if it's not your job, you could print that report up, and I've done that before, and I'm sure Corey you've done it, and Tim you've probably done it too. And you put, I think having that information, and you put that in, and you say, hey, this guy on the last job had 10 items we caught him on. 5 of those items we kicked him off the job for the day or for 2 days. And like, I know he's your foreman or he's your superintendent, but this is a big deal. And I think getting that in front of them, because at the end of the day, that's going to cost them money at some point. And so when you see that I think when an owner sees that, or maybe a general superintendent sees that about a foreman or something like that, I think when you see that information, it kind of, that light bulb goes off, and and it's kind of like, oh wait, we need to make a change here, or I need to talk to that person, or maybe that person doesn't need to be working for them anymore, and they're able to have that change. I think having that information and getting that up front is critical. Trying to do that in the middle of the job.
What if it's a company we haven't worked with? Let's say it's a smaller 4-man crew. Man, this is going to be trouble putting up a pre-engineered metal building, let's say, out in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Like, how do you address that? Like, are you just going to meet with them, tell them your expectations, and then?
Well, you meet with them. You try to get a little bit of the buy-in that we were talking about. We're interested in your welfare first of all. Nobody needs to be injured on the job for the sake of doing the job, and then you try to be helpful. So sometimes when companies bid projects that we've never worked with before, they submit their EMR, and sometimes it's not stellar. So instead of totally discounting them, sometimes the question should be, so what was the incident or accidents related to? And how can we help you with that so that you can work safely and pursue work? Because obviously they're competitive. We just need them to change whatever their culture is, or understand whatever their challenge was at the time, to make sure that we don't alienate them, because they probably have the ability to do it. But then we use our resources like construction safety and health, and say, okay, if it's a fall protection issue, bring them out and let's talk about it.
Let's talk about what options we have.
Yeah, what are we going to do, and then how are we involved at that? Because if we have something that we need to be doing to help facilitate that, then by all means,
So the other thing is, we talk about like subcontractors should be doing JHAs, and we should be too as a company if we're starting a new task or what we're doing at that time. I've done it before where I've done the first JHA with the subcontractor before they got started. That way they knew what we were expecting, and a lot of times it was because they hadn't done one before. And so I was like, okay, let me sit down and I'll fill it out with you. That way you know what to do next, but that way we could talk about it. Well, how are you going to do this? Well, we have a basket that we put on our SkyTrack. Yeah, that's not going to work for us. You need to get a boom lift out here or a scissor lift. Okay, light bulb, let's do that. And having those conversations like you were saying early on, and creating that relationship of like, hey, these are our expectations, not because we're just trying to be mean or anything. That's one, it's what's required, and two, the buy-in of, we want you to be safe. We want you to go home at night.